the muscles, the sphincter muscles in the body, also help regulate the entrances and exits, the orifices of the body. So I don't know, I guess the most important was probably movement, but I mean they're all important aspects of what muscle does for us. Alrighty, now, you know this already. Tendons and ligaments. Muscles attached to bone. Whoops, look at this, it's trying to trip. Muscles attached to bone by tendons. You've seen them in your cats already. It's that white stuff, you know, that's attaching the muscles. You know, and you can, an easy way to learn, especially the muscles of the forearms, just follow the tendons, you know, and you can figure them out that way. So tendons, of course, are dense, regular connective tissue, very, very strong, collagen fibers. Now, origins and insertions, each muscle in the body, and we're not going to get into it other than just to say a couple of words about it. Each muscle in the body has a place where it begins and ends, the origin and insertion. The important thing for us, the thing that I want you guys to concentrate on, are muscle actions. You know, because we've already talked about what the joint movements are. Now we need to pin it on the muscles, what muscles do what. Obviously, let's do an easy one. This one, the bicep, flexor of the forearm, right? Pretty easy. Tricep, extensor, right? So those are the same things you're going to have to know. Typically, you know, one of the sort of statements you can make about origins and insertions is typically the origin of a muscle remains stationary while the insertion moves. So for example, the deltoid is up here, but it inserts down here in the deltoid tuberosity. That's what's typically moving, right? Up here stays kind of more or less just stationary while the insertion moves. But we're not going to get into origins and insertions, but you are going to have to know muscle actions. And there's about all you need to know about the difference between origins and insertions right there. Okay, now, can't ever get away from this stuff, it seems like. You know, we had this in the, in the bones, we have it in the nervous system. We've got all this connective tissue which surrounds the muscles. And you'll be seeing it, well, you've already seen it in your cats, that's right, I forgot about that. The epi, the peri, and the endomysium, the stuff which surrounds the muscles. So the outermost dense irregular CT that surrounds the entire muscle is the epimysium. That's basically more or less what you're removing right now, you know, from your cats. And then there's the next layer in, the perimysium, divides muscles into compartments or bundles called fascicles, just like we had fascicles in the nerve. You'll see them here in just a second. We have fascicles in our muscle, and they're surrounded by another layer of connective tissue, the peri. And then around each muscle fiber, and I want you to make sure you understand this because I will do this all the time, muscle fiber, muscle cell, exactly the same thing. So I don't, whatever I call it, if I say a muscle fiber, and you think, well, is that the same as a cell? Yes, it is, and vice versa. So around the individual muscle fiber, there's the innermost layer, and that's the endomysium. So, for example, on this little model right here, which is a muscle, this kind of grayish stuff right here, would be the last layer here, the endo. There's a key for this thing. I'll be using this over the next couple of nights. So those are the connective tissue layers that surround our muscles. So when you're cleaning your cats, you're taking care of number one. But we don't get down into the layer of the depth of number two and number three. Because you do need to know these. And let's see, do I like this picture? Yeah, this is hard to see. This is a little easier. This is in your book. Let me see if I can point this stuff out to you. Let me get my pointer here. Okay, so this up here, so this is skeletal muscle. And you can see it's composed of lots of little things, but we'll get to what those are in just a second. So right here, we've got this connective tissue covering, and it's called the epimysium. Epimysium, I guess is how you pronounce it. And epi, remember, just means on. Simple, right? There it is. All right, so if you take this and examine the components of the entire muscle fiber, and what they're doing is they're just showing you this, you can see that the muscle itself is composed of, well, like something like the bicep, thousands, millions perhaps, many individual groups of things called muscle fascicles. I mean, I don't know how many are on here, but maybe 10 or 12 in our explanation here. So the individual little bundles are fascicles. It's just like the nerve. And around the fascicle, let's see, where is it? It's on here. So here it is. Around the individual fascicles, there's connective tissue, which is the periosteum. So that's around the fascicles. Then, one more level. Then we have to look at the individual muscle fascicles, because it's in the fascicles where we find the muscle cells, muscle fibers. So let's look. So what they've done here on this picture is they've just taken one of these and like pulled it out like a straw. And inside the fascicle, you can see it's composed of skeletal muscle fibers, parentheses, cells. So here's the fascicle, and this fascicle's got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 muscle fibers. Obviously, way more than that in a real piece of muscle. So here's our actual muscle fiber, and if you look at this depth here, these would be the individual muscle fibers. They're surrounded by this stuff here, the endomysium. Okay?